about what this place looked like. On the beach over here, probably 30, 40, 50, 60 canoes. Hale all along the beach. On that mountainside over there, for those who can see it, all the way up to the pali. The pali goes up like this. Terraces. Sweet potato terraces. 3/4 of the way back to the valley. I've seen them. They exist. They're there. When you get back to the 1/3, the back 1/3 of the valley where the rainfall exceeds about 40 inches a year, terraces. Lo'ikawa terraces. Okay. Papaloa, the long reef over here, full of limu, full of opihi, full of ia. 300 years ago, the Muliwai, the streams ran. All three streams in Makua ran. Perennial. Not sometimes, perennial, all year round. 1970, 70-ish, I played hooky from school one day, Waina High School, and I came down to this area right here, where the Muliwai is. I looked down into the Muliwai, and I saw this fish that I'd never ever seen before. So I went home, snuck, so nobody could see me, got the throw net, came back down here, made one throw, pulled the fish in, put him in a bucket, and then I took it home. I took the fish home to my grandma. I said, "Grandma, what is this?" Because I've been diving this whole shoreline, all of Waina, I've been diving. What is this fish? I've never seen it before. For the kids in Waina, I venture, unless you're the generation above me, they probably never seen that before either. O'opu na kia. Okay, not one, not two, but hundreds of o'opu na kia. Okay, that's in my lifetime. Swimming up Koyahi, living up Koyahi, coming down when the rains are big enough and flow strong enough to lay eggs. The times are different now. It's more drier. No more o'opu. No more opihi because people don't know how to take just for eat. They take for sell. Some of them take for sell and take that money and go buy other things with it, not so good things. A conversion of resources, natural resources, for other things that are not healthy is not good. People lived. Hundreds of people lived in Makua prior to the arrival of Captain Cook. Why? Because had plenty rain, had plenty nutrients, had good soil. Also what had? Right out there, 2.5 miles, the richest fishing ground on the island of Oahu, Kaina Point. The richest fishing ground on the island of Oahu. Right out there, where the winds come around and scoop up the deep water and bring that to the surface and all the nutrients. And when you can go out there even now and see birds as far as the eye can see and watch aku jump as far as the eye can see, and one night going up to Haliva to fish, launching from Pokai Bay, seeing muhe'e, squid, muhe'e, as far as the eye can see. It's not hard to understand why that beach over there, okay, those who call it Yokohama, sorry, that's not the name. Kiavaula. Kiavaula for a reason. Kiava, the bay, ula, red. Yeah? If all of that muhe came to the shore that night or that next morning, I guarantee you the bay would be red. And then people would have seen why it's called Kiava ula. It's still there. One day, maybe, we're going to see them again. Now that all the drift netters around the Pacific are off limits, it's coming back. The few times I get to jump in the water, you see the little muhe coming back. You see how many pounds of 3, 4, 5, 6. I've never seen that growing up, but you're starting to see them now. They're starting to come back. Not just in Waianae, I've seen it in Lanai, I've seen it in Kona, I've seen it on Maui. They're coming back. So good times. The reason I bring up the past is because we got to know where we came from in order to know where we are, in order to know where we're going. So we came from a place where this Aina and Nakai was Momona. And that should be our goal for the future, to make it Momona again. The present today is honoring the 15 years of no live fire.
Yes.
Yeah? No live fire. This valley has been quiet. It has been healing. It has been re-energizing itself. Every time Malama Makua does an access, every time Malama Makua and Hui Malama does makahiki ceremonies in the valley, we bring mana back into the Aina to help that healing that's going on. That's the present. The present is holding off destruction, restoring mana, restoring peace, restoring health, so that we can move to the next step. Okay, I'm gonna look to Sparky because getting kind of old and sometimes you get forgetful. So this will be our 18th year, Makahiki. So 18th year of Makahiki, the weekend before Thanksgiving, times 2. 2 times 18 is 36. My math is correct. So we've done 36 overnight ceremonies already in this valley that has contributed to the peace, the restoration, and the mana being returned to Makua, the parent. The future. We need everybody in this audience and all of your friends and family to go every 2 weeks on the Department of Land and Natural Resources website and check out their agenda. Okay? Because in 2029, the bottom of 1/3 of the valley, which is state land, which wasn't taken by the military, the bottom 1/3, the lease ends in 2029, 11 years from now. What the Army needs between now and 2029 is they need the lease to be renewed. See the brothers over there, I saw my brother Puakuloa, same thing. They need the lease renewed. Couple other places, Bellows, they need the leases renewed. All the leases come up at the same time. So Makua, those of us who've been in this challenging battle for a long time, we need your help in watching the land board. And we need your help if it shows up that they want to extend that lease. We need a lot of people to say no. Yeah? We need them to say no. Because 15 years, you never use the valley. That's proof enough already that you don't need it. That it's time to huli this paradigm of the current managers, or if you will, the users of that area. Okay? So that's one thing we need for you to watch, help us watch for, and to help us prevent from occurring. And I would let the brother no Pakuloa tell all your friends too, because they got to go on that same land board agenda to get that lease renewed. When it gets down to about 5 years, it becomes absolutely critical. So when we get closer to 5 years to the end of the lease, that's when they're going to fight the hardest. Because according to Pentagon policy and Pentagon procedures, if they have less than 5 years on a lease, they're not going to invest money in any kind of large amounts of money in repairs or infrastructure. Right? So we have 6 years to continue to remind them that they shouldn't be here, and 6 years to watch that land board agenda to make sure that it doesn't come on the land board agenda, and it doesn't pass if it comes onto the land board agenda. And then Makua will be in a place where it can be returned. Not just lower 1/3, but the entire valley. Because without the 1/3, Makai side, they cannot use the whole valley. Okay? People ask us, Malama Makua, oh, what's your plan? What you gonna do with this place? You just gonna let all the homeless guys come over here? You just gonna let anybody come in any place? Of course we wouldn't, right? Makua has a specialness to it. It has a plan. We have a plan. And the plan is not like the Kaho'olawe Reserve plan, where the Navy with the PKO, and PKO did not have as much consultation or as much influence, where the Navy set up the plan, the recovery plan, the mitigation plan. We have a better plan. Instead of the Army spending the money on cleaning up, or instead of the Army paying the state the value of the bottom 1/3, because that's how it's spelled out in the lease, the Army can do two things. They can clean it up and give it back to the state, or they can pay the state fair market value and walk away. Okay? Malama Makua, Hui Malama Makua, all the supporters, our plan is that money that you would use for cleaning up, put it in an escrow account. The community, made up of Malama Makua and other members, watch over that escrow account. And the interest on that escrow account now is used to manage the valley and used to train local people on how to clean up UXO, on how to do reforestation from the top of the mountain to Makai, and from Makai to Mauka. That way, it's not a 5-year plan. It's a 50-year plan, because that is what it's going to take to even just get started. But in a 50-year plan, we have a generation of locals who come in, get trained, love the Aina, pay attention to what they're doing because they're committed to the restoration of the Aina, and they can have a whole career, right? We create an institution made up of people that now have skills, that now get good paying jobs, that now can take their time to do it right. So 2 generations from now, we can go back and we can plant food. And we can go back and make sure that the OPE come back and the EA come back. And 2 generations from now, it can be truly a place of Aina and Kai Momona. So when people say, oh, there's no plan for Makua, or what are you going to do? Tell them there is a plan. We have a plan. It's a 50-year plan of mitigation that will result in a much better result for Makua. And it's more than Makua, because there's 3 valleys. It's Koyahi, Makua, and Kahanahaiki over here. So there's 3 valleys that need to be restored, respected, and revived. And that's the plan that Malama Makua and Hui Malama Makua has had since day one. That's a plan that was passed down to us by people like Auntie Frenchie Di Soto, by people like Uncle Ivanhoe Naivi, who's buried. Uncle Ivanhoe Naivi was a young man when a big truck pulled up to his house near the mango tree, near the well over here. So when you go into the gate, the main gate, you look to the right, there's a mango tree. Their house used to be right there. The well used to be right there. The well had the reputation of having the sweetest water in all of the wells in Makua. There used to be lots of wells in Makua. Okay? Guys jumped out of the back of the truck, pointed a gun at the family and said, you have an hour to pack all of your belongings. You have 1 hour to pack all of your belongings in the truck. And they loaded them up and they took them to Ohikilolo and they unloaded them on the side of the road. Okay? But they said, no worry. 6 months after the war, you can come back. That was a promise. 6 months after the war, you can come back. The war ended in 1946. It is now 2018. And that promise has not been kept. And the only way that Uncle Ivanhoe Naivi could come home to Makua was to be buried in the cemetery there. Okay? So he was promised, he went through his whole life, and the only way that he could return to Makua, not to the mango tree, not to drink of the well, but to be buried. That's what we've been tasked with. Malama Makua, Hui Malama Makua. We've been tasked with carrying on this fight, if you will, to get the army to fulfill their promise. And it's more than just the 15 years of live fire training. It's of not happening. That's really, really, really important. What's really, really important is getting the Army to honor that agreement and to recognize and understand that there is a group of people ready to go with a plan when you leave. And we've already shared this plan. And what I can tell you is when we talk to generals and we get asked the question, well, what are you going to do with them when you get them back? And we have this plan that is so logical, it makes so much sense. They're speechless. They are speechless. That there's a group of people that cares for a place on this earth that they would think generational. What's so surprising about that? Our tutus thought that way. Our tutus taught us to think that way. Why would anybody be surprised about thinking generationally? And that's the challenge. That's where we have a mindset here, place-based, people-based, with an organization that every 2 years moves people around. So they don't can pili, they don't can connect, they don't can understand what is it that is so special, why people fight, why people are willing to go to jail, why people are willing to do almost anything to make it pono. And so I'm going to close real quick because I've given you the past, I've given you the present, and I've given you the future. So when you're out there and anybody tells you, oh, they don't know what they're going to do with them, we know exactly what we're going to do with Makua when it comes back. We know exactly what we're going to do. And the final thing is I want to thank all those kupuna that have passed before us, all those kupuna that are in the audience now, and I'm looking around at many. And then I want to thank you and all of the people out there. Your presence today, the mana that you bring, the commitment and the compassion that you bring for Makua by coming here today is now infused. It's part of the 18 years of educating, of connecting, of restoring, of rehabilitating. And now each and every one of you have left your mana on this place, particular place called Kula Ilai. You didn't get the sign on the rock? Kula Ilai, not pray for sex. Okay? I'm going to repeat that. Not pray for sex. Kula Ilai. Kula Ilai, the mo'o goddess of the pond, whose head starts there, and whose body goes back through the mulivai, up onto the cliff where the petroglyphs have been pushed off of. Okay? So part of restoring the mana, part of making and healing is when anybody talks about pray for sex, say it with me, Ku La'i La'i, the mo'o goddess of the mulivai. Ku La'i La'i, not pray for sex. When I used to be the harbor master at the Waianae Boat Harbor, the film permit office, any film permit on the Waianae coast that had to do with the water had to get my concurrence. And anytime it had Yokohama on it, I would return it unsigned. Until they finally figured out it better have Kiavaula on it. If it doesn't have Kiavaula on it, it's not going to be passed. And that's the only way that we can bring the mana back. That people can understand how the kai was so momona that occasionally the muhe'e would come in such numbers that the bay turned red. Yokohama was either the name of the guy who switched the trains or where that guy came from. Not taking anything away from him, but there were people before him, there were people who observed things and then gave names based upon what they saw, what made a place important. Yeah? And I see no question. Time, hook off. Time for go. Wait a bit more. Okay. We still got 2 more minutes. So, anybody got any questions? Yes.
So you were saying about watching the website for the Department of Hawaii.
It's a department. It's the Department of Land and Natural Resources. So you go to DLNR, Board of Land and Natural Resources, and every 2 weeks they have an agenda.
Right. But once you see that agenda, are you asking people to go on and say they don't agree, or what are you asking?
So when you see the agenda come out, there's going to be a board hearing, and then you can either submit testimony regarding that agenda item, or you can be more effective by submitting board testimony and showing up. Okay, just like, remember last week, the folks who did not want the commercialization of the beach in front of the Kahala Hotel, well, they showed up in numbers. And what happened? They didn't vote to approve the permit. Okay? So that's kind of how it works. And that's how that's how important it is to focus in on this one event. Because if the Army doesn't get that for the next 6 years, if they don't get that extension for the next 6 years for the bottom 1/3 of this valley, then by their own policies, they can't apply any more significant sums of money, which is likely going to result in they're going to say, okay, we give up, you can have it back. But that's not good enough for us. We want it back with the money that you would have used to clean it up, but we don't want you to clean it up because you're going to do a poor job. We would rather have a 50-year plan where we have committed members that are trained, that love the place, that's not just a job, right? That it is part of their unknown, that it's part of their
But going back to the website.
Going back to the website. You are a process person, yes, okay.
Okay, and so you see that and you register your testimony. Okay, so do you have to be a Hawaiian citizen to do that? Or?
Question was, do you have to be a Hawaiian citizen to provide testimony to the land board to say no to the Army's extension of the lease? No, you do not. Okay?
They prefer you to be a taxpayer and registered voter.
I don't think that I think what the most important thing, having been a person sitting on the other side of that table, the most important thing is to hear what you feel and why you feel that way. Okay? Because all of the guys, all of the board members on the other side of the table are human beings too. And they think with their intellect, but they also think with their na'au, yes.
Numbers count.
Numbers count. I think emotion, when it's channeled positively, counts a lot more. You know, stories. Why was it important to you? Why do you want it to see? Why don't you want to see it continued bombed? Why is it that you don't want to see it continually poisoned with the bombs? What is it that you hope for the future for it? That's the kind of testimony that I think is more persuasive and more effective. So, yes, Uncle.
There is a state statute that says that DNR or whatever cannot renew a lease more than 2 years before it ends. How does that work out with the Army and its 5-year policy, whatever? And because I'm not sure how that can work.
Okay, so Uncle recalls that there is a state statute that prevents the Department of Land and Natural Resources or any state agency from renewing a lease prior to 2 years before it expiring. And my response is, Uncle, I don't know about that one. So I will, now that you've mentioned that, we'll go back and take a look at it, because the impact is, of course, is the 5 years, right? Before they stop spending significant amounts on a piece of property that they don't own. I'm referring to the Army. Yes? The lease, okay. The lease ends in 2029. It's 11 years from now. The Pentagon policy to spend significant sums of monies on leased properties basically prevents them from spending money if the lease is less than 5 years. Okay? So we have basically 6 years to watch that the State Department or the State Board of Land and Natural Resources does not either extend the lease, which they cannot do, give them a new lease, right? Because it'll be 65 years, so they can't extend the lease beyond 65, but they would have to come in for a new lease. So preventing the Army from having a new lease for the bottom 1/3 from the Kai, 1/3 of the valley in to the mountain, which is all state land leased to the Army for $1 for the last 65 years. Not $1 a year, but $1 for the last 65 years. And there was a 20-year period prior to that. Okay, so that's what we need. We need all of you to help Maka'ala, and then when the time comes, to actually pay attention and write and share why you don't think the lease should be renewed. Okay, mahalo nui everybody. Aloha.
Once again, Uncle William Island. And for those who still have questions for Uncle William, you can take it offline or